Hey everybody, before we get started today, we just want to let you know this episode of Bacon and Eggs is brought to you by the brand new Bacon and Eggs Book Club. You can access the book club over at patreon.com/baconandeggs. It's our $5 reward tier over there, and it's something we're trying out brand new for the month of April. All month long, we're going to be talking about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Again, that's the book, not the movie. There's a lot of great new content that goes along with the book club, including new videos, new episodes. We're going to be doing some awesome stuff over there, as well as you can get access to our super secret Discord server. We're going to be talking about the book all month long. So go ahead and sign up for that. It's a $5 reward at patreon.com/baconandeggs, and you'd be really helping us out to keep the show alive and going. So go ahead and check it out.
Howdy, yokes, and welcome back to Bacon and Eggs. I'm Tyler Carlin.
And I'm Ethan Edgehill.
And we're coming to you live from the back of a horse.
Or perhaps just banging some coconuts together.
To bring you our take on one of comedy's greatest films.
That's right, we're talking Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
So prepare to siege the castle.
Because here goes nothing. Oh gosh, okay.
Okay, so Ethan, this movie was released April 27th, 1975. That was 15,668 days ago as of recording.
Man, I remember it like it was yesterday.
I don't.
Yeah, I wasn't born. I was not
I
born
wasn't
at all.
born for another 17 years.
0% born. How much did it cost to make this movie?
This is by far our least expensive film. Now, I'm pretty sure this number is adjusted for inflation, but at a $400,000 budget. Okay.
Yeah, that's
and
not,
also adjust.
It's not
what?
a lot.
No, that's literally nothing. It would cost the budget of this movie like over 120 times over just to have Robert Downey Jr. in this film.
Yeah, that's like 12 times less than The Room.
Yeah.
If that tells you anything.
But The Room was like suspiciously expensive.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Did it make any money though?
It did. It was a worthwhile investment for those Monty Python boys.
The Pythons.
The Pythons. John Cleese and friends. Anyway, it made $5 million. And again, I think that is adjusted for inflation. I'm not sure what the numbers would have been in 1975. But it was very well received. At least as of today, it has a 97% critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes, 95% audience rating. And this is the kicker right here, a 93 on Metacritic, which I think
that's our best one.
I think that's our best movie yet. I think
pretty
the only
positive.
the only other one I can think of maybe Back to the Future.
And I don't think it was that high. I can check real quick. 86. Back to the Future is 86.
86. Wow.
So yeah, it is our best received movie by Metacritic.
Yes. So that's some good numbers right there. I mean, that's what you want to see for your low budget comedy film.
It's no Citizen Kane.
It's no Citizen Kane, but I've been doing a lot of research on this movie today. And
tell me about it.
They didn't particularly think it was a Citizen Kane either. They thought it was just going to be a silly little thing that some people watched. I don't think they had the expectations that it would do nearly as well as it did.
Well, it's become this incredible cult classic.
Here's the problem with the cult classic, okay?
Well, hang on. Before we dive into this, we got to do some reviews.
Okay. Do you have a negative review? I'm sure that must have been challenging to find.
We had, fun fact, we usually use Rotten Tomatoes to find our negative reviews just because it's a great aggregator. And there are 2 negative reviews for this movie on Rotten Tomatoes, and neither of the links still work.
We have that problem a lot with these older films. I don't know if you know this.
So, yeah, neither of these links still work, which is not uncommon because they were published on online newspapers in 2001, which was a while ago for the internet.
And even then, those reviews are 26 years old.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Well, the reviews probably weren't, but the content was.
The content of it. So we had to turn to our Facebook group because we managed to find one of our own listeners' wives hates this movie with a burning passion.
Does she?
She does.
Can you tell me more?
Yeah, so we have a review from Heidi Miller. She said, "I hate this movie so much. It literally killed more brain cells than The Princess Bride," which is saying a lot because I passionately hate that movie as well. It's completely all over the place, and the humor, in air quotes, is 100% based in stupidity and completely ridiculous. Watching this movie accomplishes nothing except it fuels my hate fire and gets me extremely angry. This movie is nothing but a mess of stupid antics and reminds me of a horrible 7th grade movie project I made for my English class, except maybe that my homemade movie was put together way better. 0 out of 5 stars. If it was a breakfast food, it would be burnt toast. Everyone loves toast, but this toast sucks because it's burnt, and someone thought it would be funny to put Vegemite on it.
I love that last little quip. And someone put Vegemite on this toast.
You ever had Vegemite, Tyler?
No.
This is going to offend the surprisingly large percentage of people that listen to our show in Africa, in Australia. Vegemite's
Angola, hello.
Vegemite's disgusting.
Is it? I've never had Vegemite.
Yeah, just like
I know that there's that line in the song where he's like, and he offered me a Vegemite sandwich.
it's a real thing. I don't know how common it is, how prevalent it is compared to what men at work would have us believe, but it is a real thing, and it tastes approximately. Just go to your kitchen, open the refrigerator, pop the top off your entire bottle of soy sauce and just drink the whole thing.
You're telling the wrong person to do that. I'm a huge fan of soy sauce.
Yeah, but then it's a lot of soy sauce, man. I know you like soy sauce, but like,
will it PB and soy sauce?
Don't make me do that.
I might.
There's few things in the world I hate more than wet bread.
It doesn't sound like you have your choice of bread. It can be on a rice cake.
That's not bread.
Whatever. You put
No,
peanut butter
I'm
on
sorry.
it.
Yeah, but like, if you're talking about a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, if I put the soy sauce on a rice cake, I'm cheating at that test at that point.
Okay.
Like, there's
we'll
a
play
spirit.
The game though.
There's a spirit to be observed here.
I'm excited for when this comes to YouTube.
Coming to YouTube next time I decide to visit Tyler.
Anyway, let's see. So I have a positive review here. I've got a bunch of positive reviews, but I'm just gonna.
Those were not hard to find.
No, they weren't. I'm just gonna read a snippet because it's like I'm doing you no service telling you what people love about this movie. Everybody loves it. It's amazing. So I'm just gonna give you a little snippet from the Boston Globe. Jay Carr. He said nobody ever placed brilliance in the service of silliness quite the way the Python gang did. Monty Python and the Holy Grail is stuffed with both. And that is, I guess, brilliance and silliness is the two he's referring to. It's stuffed with brilliance and silliness.
I would agree with that.
Now, here's the thing I wanna take point with your negative review there.
Okay.
She says the problem is that it's about nothing. Like, I will agree with her that while you are watching this movie, you are wasting your time. I'm on board with that point. What I'm not on board with is that that's a bad thing.
Right.
I think what's so great about it is that while you're watching it, you are absolutely wasting your time.
Right. Well, this is the first movie that we've reviewed on this podcast that I've sat down and watched it, and it just kind of happened.
You didn't take any notes?
No, I mean, I took a few notes, but it was just like, there was no, like, I didn't go use the bathroom or get some water, or like, it just like, I started the movie and then the movie was over.
It's
like,
so good.
It just happened. I
a
wasn't
few reasons for that,
stressed. I wasn't worried about it. I wasn't sitting there like, oh, are they gonna find the Holy Grail?
Oh my gosh. No, I didn't care about the Grail thing at all. Because it's not about the Grail. It's about the jokes.
Not at all. It's about the jokes. And yesterday when we were talking about this, took issue with the ending.
I mean, I guess there's no way they could have resolved it like inside the castle. Like, I guess they just go in and they get the Grail or whatever.
Right.
I mean,
that would have been so unsatisfying.
It would have. Yeah, there's no way to end it. And they knew that. And that's why they did it the way that they did. Was that they was like, well, that's the story. Because there's no conflict. Right? The conflict is where's the Grail, but that's not really like a
right.
Like like every time they ask somebody, they got the answer pretty quick.
Yeah, it's just like it's in there, this place. We think it's here.
Right.
But I love the fact that it was still had the French people.
Hello.
I thought that was, and that's what I thought you were taking issue with. But I thought that was absolutely hysterical.
No, they definitely brought it back there at the end.
Right.
They brought it back to those jokes from the beginning,
which is something that so many movies do such a good job of these days. But I don't think it was necessarily a thing back then.
I don't know. I did not watch a lot of cinema. I don't watch a lot of 70s era cinema.
No.
And
me either.
I do love the movie. I don't want to disparage that. I think what we're going to do is, in an effort to break it down, we may say some negative things. Right. But I want to be clear at the end that this movie is so great because it breaks all the rules and it's still excellent.
Right. It's like
it's so aware of itself.
Right. And it's not a movie that's for everybody. It's not a gentrified comedy that everybody's supposed to like, that was focus group to death, and they try to figure out what's going to make the most people laugh.
Hold on, I just want to be clear real quick, because John Negroni's going to text me about this. When I say the movie does these things, I'm referring to the Python group. I'm referring to the 6 men who created the movie and the 2 Terrys that directed it. They were the whole team. There wasn't anybody else. There was other actors and there was like a crew.
So, would you say that you had fun with it?
Yeah, I had fun with it. Before I get some angry messages.
Welcome to this week's episode of Bacon and Eggs, where we make John Negroni as angry as possible.
Right. I wonder if he liked this movie. I think he does. I don't think he takes any issue with it.
I mean, I've met very few people in my life, if any, that have had a bad word to say about this movie.
It's weird though, because you wouldn't ask the kind of person that doesn't like this movie whether or not they like this movie. Like, that conversation would just never come up.
Right. Well, because the kind of person that doesn't like this movie isn't the kind of person that you're talking about things that are funny.
Well, I don't think that's it. I just don't think that, like, I think there's a certain aspect to cult classics some people just don't click with.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
100%. You generally know within 10 minutes of talking to a person if they're the kind of person that watches cult classic movies.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I can pretty much tell you within 10 minutes of talking to somebody if they've seen, like, Fight Club.
Do you think my wife has seen Fight Club?
No.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. And if she has, it's only because you forced her.
I don't think I'd do that. I don't have the kind of relationship with Fight Club that a lot of people do.
No, but you've seen it.
Yeah, for sure.
You are the type of person that has seen it.
What was I saying about this movie?
I love
it.
You were talking about the Python process.
Okay, so
tell me about that, because that's something I know relatively little about. I've seen plenty of Monty Python's Flying Circus, and I think this is the most recent, like, obviously the most recent I've seen this movie, but this is the farthest removed I've been from an episode of Monty Python's Flying Circus while seeing this movie. So it was some kind of stuff where I watched this movie and I was like, man, this is kind of weird.
So Flying Circus was directed by one of the other guys, not the two Terrys. So when the two Terrys came in to do this movie, they didn't come in. I mean, they were Terry Gilliam and Terry
Jones.
Terry Jones. They didn't come in. I mean, they were obviously always Monty Python, but they were the ones that were like, for the feature-length movie, we're gonna direct it. And the two-director process is really evident once you know that it's happening, because some of the scenes are just completely different from the others.
Right.
And they literally, like, it was super simple. They would be like, okay, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, that's Terry G, and Tuesday, Thursday is the other Terry. Like, there was not like a organized process to it. They wouldn't go and like write it all down or whatever.
Right.
It was just,
these are the scenes that this Terry gets.
Right. But what I want to talk about with the process is that this is a cult comedy or a cult classic or whatever you want to call it. Doesn't, like, the Monty Python brand was already a brand when it came out, and it existed after this. But to those 6 actors, Monty Python was like a stepping stone. It wasn't like, this is what you're going to do forever and this is going to define your career. It was like, we need to make something so that we can then have the clout or the notoriety or, you know, the credits to get jobs in other fields, or so that we can write books and people will buy them. Like, they were the best comedians ever, but only because they were the ones that like got together and worked hardest at comedy.
Right.
Not because they wanted to do comedy, because they wanted to get past that necessary step in their lives.
Right.
So why this frustrates me as a cult classic is because people are always like, oh, when's Monty Python getting back together? Blah, blah, blah. Because I think 5 of them are still living, right?
Yeah. Which one died? Michael Palin, right? I think.
You can edit out us finding out which one of them died just until we get to it.
One of them died.
Graham Chapman's dead. Yeah, Graham Chapman is dead.
Graham Chapman's dead. Okay.
So Graham Chapman died, right? And then that was before their, I think, like the day before their 20th anniversary reunion or something like that.
Right.
And they were all kind of like, okay, well, you know, if Graham's not here, he's kind of a party pooper for dying. I think that we should just move on with our lives and go on to the next thing.
Right.
And that was like all of their mentalities. Like, for none of them was Monty Python the end all be all of their careers. It was like, let's do this as a stepping stone.
Right. Which is so weird, because that's the exact way like SourceFed happened.
What do you mean?
Is that those people like got together and like, this is what we're gonna do to get. They invented work experience. That's what a lot of the YouTubers did. Is they just invented work experience.
Well, that's SourceFed was like the step 2 for all of them. Like Elliot Morgan and
right,
Joe
but now
Beretta.
they're like big deal people.
Oh yeah, they're huge deals.
That's what I'm
Maybe
saying.
Not as big
like,
as these guys, but
no, but that's their way that they got in the real media.
Right. No, this
real
was
media.
this was like, you know how Anthony Padilla left Smosh?
Yeah.
And now he's like off pursuing his own thing.
Right.
He was like, I would say, as close to a modern day John Cleese as it gets. Where John Cleese, shortly after season 3 of the show, was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to move on. You guys are all too silly. I want to be serious. This is my career. I want to advance. I want to star in serious roles. I want to do, you know, and if we're going to be a silly thing, we're going to do the best possible comedy ever, not just improvise and not just. Interesting fact about this movie, every line scripted.
Really?
Every line.
That's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah, that still doesn't happen with comedy.
No.
Like, if you watch the bloopers for all those Will Ferrell, Kevin Hart movies, like 20 lines in the whole movie are scripted. Like, the ones that move the plot forward are scripted. Everything else is jokes. So yeah, every line in this movie was scripted.
What's crazy to me is that, like, and like you said, he's the one that wanted to be serious and went off by himself. Like, John Cleese, I think, to me as a 25-year-old human being in 2018, like, I know John Cleese's name way better than the rest of these dudes' names.
Yeah, I would know Graham Chapman, but Terry Gilliam, Terry Jones, Michael Palin, Eric Idle.
I wouldn't know their names if I didn't know about Monty Python. Like,
right, but John Cleese is a name you would know.
John Cleese is a name you would know. But he's like the least important person in this movie.
He's Lancelot.
Because, like, he didn't direct it, and he's not King Arthur.
Yeah, but I don't know. He's pretty. I mean, he's still John Cleese.
I mean, for sure. But like, that's kind of what I'm asking though. Is like, was he John Cleese then?
I have no idea.
That's the thing. Is like, you would think like they would pick the most popular one to be the main character.
I think Graham Chapman was then, but Graham Chapman was dead for 8 years when you and I were born. Or
right, and that's the point I'm making. I guess is that
or 3 years. 3 years. I'm sorry.
That's the point I guess I'm making, is that like clearly, you know, John Cleese going off by himself and saying, "Hey, I want to do a serious thing. I want to be my own guy." It kind of worked for him. Like, he's nearly headless Nick.
You're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was also Archie Leach in A Fish Called Wanda.
That's a great movie.
Is it?
Yeah. That
That's
movie
also
is
got Michael Palin in it.
That movie is freaking hysterical.
They're all hysterical. I think, like I said, I think that they might be like the best comedians who ever lived because they weren't. I don't know that they were naturally funny.
John Cleese wrote A Fish Called Wanda, turns out.
Oh, did he? Mm-hmm. I think they were. I don't know that they were naturally funny. I think they were naturally the hardest working people in Hollywood, and they chose comedy. And of course, it wasn't Hollywood. It was London or whatever.
Right.
But I think that they're like rocket scientists of comedy.
Right.
It was calculated. It was like, we're going to tell these jokes and deliver them at this time, and like every scene in this movie was rehearsed.
Well, this movie feels to me like it was the same way that like the Blues Brothers got made, where it was like a sketch that went too far and they needed to make it into a movie.
It was sort of like that. Just reading the history of it is they made the first movie, and now for something completely different, I think is what...
The first movie was The Meaning of Life, I thought. No, that's the last one. 71 was in Now for Something Completely Different.
Okay, so that's probably it.
Yeah, that was 2 years after Flying Circus came out.
So they made that, and it was, oh my gosh, they all played so many parts.
Yeah.
They made that, and it was just a collection of refilmed sketches.
Right.
Is what happened. And then they repooled what they wanted to do, and they wrote a bunch of new sketches for the next movie. And they said that like half of them ended up being medieval, and half of them ended up being like modern. And then you can about 90% of that script got thrown out, and they rewrote the rest of it from the 10% of medieval stuff, and they ended up with Holy Grail. But you can still see some of that touch of modern with the the police
get arrested
officer
at the end,
and they get arrested, of course. So that's sort of the process for me, and that's sort of a breakdown of what it is. And that it ends up being this cult classic, and everybody loves it as this cult classic, and it's like, oh, let's get Monty Python back together. But like, they don't want to get back together. They didn't even want to be making this movie. They didn't have fun making this movie.
I don't believe that.
No, it's true. It was they were all wearing like wool, and it was always wet and cold, and it was the wrong time of year, and they didn't have any budget, and the hotel they were staying in only had so much hot water, and they were just miserable the whole time. But they made it because they were like the Heisenbergs of comedy.
Gotcha. I thought you were trying to say that they all hated Monty Python.
No, I don't think that's the case. I think, but like,
so have you seen the other movies or any of the show?
I've seen some of the show, and I'm glad you brought that up because when you and I were talking earlier, I said that I wanted to talk about the Beatles.
Yeah.
This is sort of my transition there. I've seen some of the show because to me, it's like the Beatles. You're familiar with Roger Ebert, right? The person we're all trying to be.
Yeah.
You're familiar with his great quote, like, if I could experience anything, like the greatest experience I could ever have would be going back and watching my favorite movie for the first time.
Yeah.
To me, Monty Python and the Beatles is that. I know if I go out and I seek all the Beatles songs or I watch all of Flying Circus, I'll enjoy it and it'll be great. But then for the rest of my life, I won't get to experience it for the first time.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
So like, I recently knowingly listened to Strawberry Fields Forever for the first time. And I'm having so much fun with it.
Fair enough.
Right, because that's such a good song.
Yeah, I mean...
So that's sort of the connection I want to make.
Play my cards close to my chest on this one.
I know you're not a huge Beatles fan.
I'm not a huge Beatles fan. But I was also inundated with the Beatles.
I was wrong about the Beatles. I didn't like them for a long time.
I was not, I was not born a Beatles fan, but I had being a Beatles fan thrust upon me.
Is that so?
Yeah, it was like, it was a requirement in my household. And it's weird that you bring up Monty Python as well, because it's like, that's something I was definitely thrown into whether I wanted to be or not.
So tell me about your experience. I feel like I've been talking for like 20 minutes. Tell me some of your thoughts and some things I don't know.
I've seen Holy Grail probably like close to a dozen times.
Okay.
It's just it was on a lot in my household, as was it's Now for Something Completely Different and not Life of Brian. That's the one that's hard to get. I said it earlier. The Meaning of Life. Life of Brian's the one you're not allowed to watch in Scotland. Yeah, that's the one.
Why?
I don't entirely know the whole story, but it's something to do with the church.
Okay.
And that that's the one about Jesus.
There's one I was reading about earlier or learning about earlier where there was like some like unbelievably blasphemous thing that happens or something. Like they just went completely too far with something.
Yeah, I mean that's Life of Brian generally.
Okay.
Is what people. So that's about Brian of Nazareth, who was born in the stable next door to Jesus, and he spends his whole life thinking he's the Messiah.
Gotcha.
But he's not. So it's about like the life. It's about. I almost just said it's about the life of Brian, but yeah, it's about like Brian Christ.
Gotcha. Coming to terms with not being the Messiah.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's hysterical, but it's a lot. And it was the 70s. But I've seen a lot of Flying Circus. The show is absolutely hysterical. I mean, the show.
It is. I'll give you that.
The show is in a lot of ways better than the movies, just because it's so many different ideas they can present to you all at one time, and you don't have the parts where in some of the movies it just feels like kind of cobbled together. It's like Saturday Night Live, but insane.
Saturday Night Live was insane back then too.
Well, yeah, and it got us the Blues Brothers and Animal House.
All that jazz. Yeah. Belushi.
Yeah, everything Belushi and Aykroyd were in.
Man, those are the good days.
Right. But yeah, like the Blues Brothers was a 4-minute sketch.
Wait, hold on. Can I just say something real
Yeah.
quick? SNL has been on a downtick for a while.
Yeah.
It is on an uptick right now.
Is it?
In my mind.
That's-
I've been watching some sketches recently that have very much pleased my palate.
That's very good to hear.
That's my opinion. If you go back and you watch it and you're like, nope, this still sucks, then that's fine.
I mean,
But-
there's something funny in every episode of Saturday Night Live.
yeah, but like some of the guests are better than others.
Oh, definitely. And there's
Like
definitely
Will
some...
Ferrell and Kevin Hart and oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. Who's the one that does it all the time? The Steve Martin.
Yeah.
If Steve Martin's on,
Well, so I like Steve Martin in sketch comedy and stuff like that. I like Steve Martin a lot and stuff like that. I generally hate Steve Martin movies.
Really?
Yeah, I just don't find them that funny. I never have.
You didn't like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
That movie sucked, bro.
No, it didn't. I watched it with you, and I thought that while we were watching it, but then like it resonated with me.
It's so depressing.
Like a week later. I know that like bad things keep happening, and that is always a frustrating trope for me in like classic comedy, is that like, just you keep crashing your car, or by the end of it, whatever. You know what I'm saying, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of what Steve Martin's comedy is he just gets pooped on by life.
Right.
And it was the same with to me it's the same with Jim Carrey, but I think Jim Carrey does it so much better.
Oh man, Jim Carrey is an exceptional person.
People who don't like Jim Carrey movies are wrong. I'm sorry. Like you're incorrect.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's one of the most flexible comedic actors out there.
Right. If you didn't like Ace Ventura, like I get it. I understand that. But like if you're sitting there saying, "Oh, I hate every Jim Carrey movie," just because I don't like Jim Carrey or whatever, you're just incorrect. Like flat out, you're not giving him the credit he deserves. You're not trying. And
I urge you, as long as we're talking about comedy, if you haven't watched it already, going over to Netflix and watching the Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Seinfeld. Mm-hmm. I think it's the first episode he does with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
And it's just like, he's obviously... Now, a lot of people know Jim Carrey is in a state in his life where he's just all about being an artist, and
right.
He's kind of stepped back from comedy, and he says something really interesting in the show, like, I could never make another movie and never do anything else with show business and be completely pleased with how my career went. And I think he won't for a while do another movie, but I think he will come back.
Right. Well, I don't know. I think the whole, because have you watched Jim and Andy?
Andy.
No, Jim and Andy, the movie. Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond.
No, I have not. Is that around the time of the cable guy?
No, it's like...
Oh, no, you're talking about there's a new
brand
one.
New, yeah. The documentary.
Yeah. No, I need to, though. That's the one where he talks about Andy, what's his name?
About playing Andy Kaufman in Man on the Moon.
Yeah, and he, like, it was like a suicidal experience.
Yeah,
almost, right?
messed him up, and still to this day messes him up.
Yeah.
Because he did the Heath Ledger thing.
Right.
And not quite that far, obviously, but so we're completely off topic. Jim Carrey's not in this movie.
No, but as long as we're talking Python, you're talking about its impact and the history of comedy, you've got to bring up some of these great comedy-shaping comedians.
And that's the thing.
Because we don't talk comedy on this show very much.
No, but you can't ignore the movie for what it's done for comedic cinema. You can't.
Correct.
You can't. It's not possible. And maybe there are things that are not seen for the first time, but there are things that are getting to the masses for the first time in comedy.
Now, do you think... I think, this is my belief, I don't know the people and I wasn't there, but I think watching this movie and knowing the history of it, that the Python guys worked harder for what they were doing than Kevin Hart does.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, Kevin Hart came from stand-up.
Correct.
So it's a different...
Okay.
Like, that's a hard comparison to make, because, like, stand-up comics work their ass off to get anywhere.
That's true.
Like, the ones that end up getting somewhere, like, they grind it out for years.
But I think that guys like Kevin Hart were capitalists, right? They were out there doing their comedy shows and building an audience and getting fans, where I think Monty Python was more about how do we write the best jokes
For sure.
ever.
For sure.
And I think, I mean, obviously Kevin Hart is a much better marketing professional and capitalist than I think the Monty Python guys were, because he makes movies with $1 million budgets that are, him and Will Ferrell making jokes.
And they're terrible.
Yeah, they're awful.
Everybody goes to see them. They still laugh. They're still funny. Air quote funny. But
I think they're funny.
Some of them. And I love Kevin Hart's stand-up. I do. I'm not one of those people that's going to sit here and be like, I hate Kevin Hart. I love Kevin Hart more than most stand-up comics.
I think I also love Kevin Hart, but I also loved like a lot of the pop stand-up comics. I love Chappelle, Dane Cook, which I know those are two whole different realms. because Chappelle's like an avant-garde comic and Dane Cook is like a shout at the mic comic.
Right.
But I know a lot about comedy.
Yeah, no, for sure. But these guys, you're exactly right. They were trying to write, and especially if this movie was painstakingly written and painstakingly rehearsed, like...
Well, then they weren't doing it for any money. Like, they weren't
right. They had nothing to gain other than the eventual end goal,
which was this being a resume piece.
Right, this is an internship for them.
Right.
Like, essentially.
And of course, then after they made it, everybody was like, oh, keep doing the Python thing. And everybody's like, well, no.
Where were you the last, 10 years when we made the TV show or whatever?
Right. We don't want to keep doing the Python thing.
Right. And it's just they've opened the door for so many people. And, like, what you're telling me about that is a very 21st century, like, entrepreneurial mentality of, like, if nobody's paying you to make the movies you want and, create the content you want and you want to get to the bigger role, like, just go do it.
Right. I was listening to Rhett and Link the other day, and they were talking about, I don't know if you saw this, I can't remember if it was on Ear Biscuits or on Good Mythical Morning, but they were talking about how if you want, it must have been Ear Biscuits, because this would have no place on GMM. They're talking about if you want to work for us, we ask you about what content have you created, what's your repertoire, what's your portfolio, it's like that's the modern entertainment world, right? You can go out and you can make content and you can grow that into your own business, or you can go out and make content and apply to work for a bigger channel, and you can work for Philip DeFranco or Rhett and Link or Super Carlin Brothers, whoever it is. But like it all starts with you being a creator, and I think that's what these guys were doing 40 years ahead of time.
Right. It's like they're not looking for office managers, they're looking for office managers with a podcast.
Right.
Office managers who make YouTube videos, who do whatever they want, somebody who's going to keep creating and has the drive to create.
Well, and somebody who's going to have an idea to bounce off of.
Exactly.
When you come into the office and say, because why would you hire just creative personnel? You wouldn't.
No.
Because you want to go into the office and say, hey, accounting and,
well, yeah, and if you watch Good Mythical Crew, like they all have a role every episode of Good Mythical Morning, no matter what they do for the company.
Right. Because why wouldn't you?
Right.
Do roles.
Yeah, you're on camera all the time.
And you're recruiting people who, like you and I do, went to their day job from 9 to 5 and got very good at that skill, and then from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. went out and created.
Right.
And now you've got two valuable skills.
Right, exactly. It's like that guy, what's his name, Alex on GMM, whose job is like, I know he does other stuff for Mythical Entertainment, but he's like the guy that wears the Michigan Wolverines hat and pours stuff into the drink fountains.
What?
Yeah, like every time there involves like them drinking some kind of liquid, it's the same guy who does the pouring.
Huh.
Every time. He always has a Wolverines hat on.
Is that which one's the Michigan I like? That Kyle likes?
That's Michigan Wolverines. University of Michigan.
Because the other one's the Trojans? No.
Spartans.
Oh, whatever. I got the right mythology.
If you say they're the same thing, I think Sparta and Troy would have something to say about that.
Sparta and Troy can't say anything about that because
they're gone.
They're gone.
Wrecked.
I think University of South Carolina. No, that's
Gamecocks.
Southern California. Is that home?
Trojans, yeah. USC Trojans.
Trojan. Whatever, man. It's the same freaking letters. I was close.
It is. They're both USC.
Yeah. What were we talking about?
Monty Python.
Monty Python. Can we talk about the scenes?
Yeah.
Which one's your favorite scene? Because they're all like little sketches, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
It's honestly probably it's between the first one and the witch scene.
I love the witch scene.
But just the first scene in the movie is possibly the greatest, like some of the greatest comedic exposition.
You got coconuts and you're banging them together.
Right. And it's completely meta, it completely breaks the fourth wall.
The movie does that over and over and over again.
Right. It's like medieval Deadpool.
Right.
But it's like what was the story? So they didn't have money for horses, right? That's a legitimate thing.
Correct.
They could not afford horses.
So like at the time, people still listen to radio shows. This was before the radio lull of like probably 1995 to
now
2005. Well, radio's not really back, but audio broadcasts are
right.
the thing people listen to, Audible and podcasts.
Right.
And I think, maybe it's just from being in this world, but I think Sirius is on the rise again. What are we talking about?
Coconuts.
Oh, coconuts. The coconuts were often used in audio broadcasts to simulate horses. So they just used the coconuts and galloped.
Right, which is such a great... It just tells you immediately what kind of movie this is going to be, because he just fiercely denies it. I rode it on a horse.
Right.
You got two arms of a coconut. And they get in the whole swallow discussion.
Found them in Mercia. The coconut's tropical.
Wait, you're telling me that two swallows strung a line between them?
Oh, man.
And he's just sitting here like, I'm Arthur, King of the Britons. How am I having this conversation?
Right. Nobody is giving him credit for being King Arthur.
We're smarter than this.
I I don't think that's what they were drawing from there.
No.
I don't think
No,
so.
but if they were to like reboot this movie for some reason, I would pick Ewan McGregor to replace Graham Chapman.
I'd pick Ewan McGregor for most, as long as we're all on the same page about that.
But I just love the witch scene where the guy's like, and what do you do with witches? And it's like they're trying to guess, he's making them guess the answers.
If she weighs the same as a duck, then she's a witch.
She's made of wood, and therefore a witch.
We shall use my largest scales.
That's a heavy duck.
No, it's not. When he steps away from the scales, they're like completely uneven.
Oh. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
She didn't weigh the same as a duck.
Yeah.
The scales didn't work.
Yeah, you're right.
I think my favorite scene in the whole movie is when he's talking to Dennis, where the just the peasant in like the field and he's trying to figure out who lives in the castle.
No, you're 100% right. Help, I'm being oppressed.
Look at the violence inherent in the system. Look at the violence inherent in the system.
That is the best, some of the best comedic writing of all time in that scene right there. Where is that? I gotta find the. God, this quote page is long.
Oh yeah, the whole movie is quotable. The whole movie. I also love the castle in the swamp where he's talking to the guards and they're trying to fill runtime in the movie and they're just like, no, you stay here. Make sure he doesn't leave. Oh right, of course, very good.
And then right at the end they follow him out.
Yeah.
He's like, where are you going? We're following you.
No.
Listen, strange women lying in ponds, distributed swords is no basis for a system of government. Supreme executive power derives from a mandate from the masses, not from some farcical aquatic ceremony. And he's just a peasant. He's like breaking rocks.
They're like stacking mud. I think
He's
is what
doing
they're
some menial, unimportant task.
I love the scene where they're doing the plague thing and the guy's like, bring out your dead. And that's a cool scene. There was, I can't remember which of the Terrys, but one of them was very keen on attention to detail and making sure that like it all actually looked like medieval and
right.
Arthur's suit was clean compared to all of them. Of course, they couldn't wash the costumes, but keeping his as clean as possible. And when they're like, how do you know he's a king? He's not covered in shit.
Or when Sir Robin comes back like 8 scenes later, that Bard is still singing the song about him running away.
Brave Sir Robin ran away.
He runs up and you just hear the Bard. It's just like, he's running away, brave Sir Robin is running away.
Listen to, oh man. Yeah, who's that then? I don't know. Must be a king. Why? Hasn't got shit all over him.
Oh my god.
I was just cracking up the whole time during this movie. I was just laughing out loud. Emily was like, shut up. Trying to take this all in.
Because it's a movie it's hard to watch with somebody for them watching it the first time.
Right. It is a rewatched movie.
Right. Well, because I feel like she probably didn't enjoy it all that much.
She was mad.
Why?
Because the ending.
What's wrong with the ending?
Because she was like, I wanted to see them get the Grail.
Oh, you can't do that though.
You're too invested in the story at that point. You need to. It's not about the Grail.
Right, there was no way for them to get the Grail. I mean, there was, but it would have just ruined the movie.
Right, and they obviously couldn't afford an actual fight.
Right, or a Grail.
They could probably gotten a Grail. Wasn't it like just a wooden cup?
Our lantern is Grail shaped.
Our beacon is Grail
shaped.
I did a lot of research to see if some of the other things were like actual references to anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, surely the Knights Who Say Knee is some obscure, Canterbury Tales reference or
something like that.
Something.
Or a political commentary or something.
Nope.
The Knights Who Say Knee.
Complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. As far as I can tell. If somebody knows something I don't know, as far as I'm aware, it's utter nonsense. Like the shrubbery, the red herring, the Knights Who Say Knee all together.
You must cut down this tree with a herring!
Cut down a tree with a herring? It's barbaric. You know what scene I liked a lot better when I was watching this as a younger me?
What?
This one, for whatever reason, didn't age well. Is the Black Knight thing.
It's so early in the movie.
Yeah, it's real early. What I do love is they're like, we must cross this bridge tonight. And it's like a little wooden bridge over a small dried up pond or stream.
Yeah.
Crick. How do you say that word, Ethan? C-R-E-E-K.
Creek.
Is a crick a different thing?
I think so.
How would you spell it?
C-R-I-C-K.
Crick.
I think a creek is small creek.
What about a creek is a small stream?
No. A creek is a small, river.
Then what's a stream?
I don't know.
What do you call the thing on top of your house?
A roof.
Okay, good.
It's not a roof.
Roof?
A roof.
We are from the South.
We are from the South. What do you call them tiny lobsters that hang out under rocks?
Crawdads.
Yeah, crawdads. If I ever met somebody that actually said crayfish, I'd probably just punch him in the face.
I'm like, what on earth is a crayfish?
It's a crawdad.
Crawdad in time.
What do you call it when the sun's out but it's raining?
I don't know.
It's the devil beating his wife. That is a thing like local to like our part of Appalachia.
Really?
And if you say that pretty much anywhere else, people look at you like, what?
Ethan, your mom worked in Franklin County all throughout your youth, and I lived in Franklin County for a part of my youth.
My mom still works in Franklin County.
And when I lived in Franklin County in Sunday school, they didn't just tell us who made the sunshine; they told us who made the moonshine too.
God made the sunshine, and Clem made the moonshine.
Who?
Clem?
Oh, I was thinking you were going to say Cletus. Cletus made the moonshine.
Cletus? Billy John?
It was a real deal thing. When my parents moved into that house, like, people came over with just jars of moonshine. It's like instead of bringing you an apple pie, like, welcome to the neighborhood, they brought you an apple pie moonshine jar.
No, every year at Christmas, Mom would come home with gallons.
Like in an old water gallon?
Yeah, in like a milk jug.
Yeah.
Still had the Food Lion 2% sticker on it.
And the blue cap.
Right. It's a real thing, guys. There was no liquor stores. It's like you got it from Ace Hardware. I know, because I've been in the Ace Hardware in Franklin County, in Rocky Mount, downtown, air quotes, and seen it
downtown.
And seen it happen.
Farmers
where
market.
somebody goes up to the counter, and the guy behind the counter just pulls out a jug, sits it on the counter, and gets.
This isn't a very big town. You're gonna get this dude in trouble. You're a narc, Ethan.
It's not who.
I was good friends with the chief of police. I think he knew what was going on.
Yeah, I don't think they care that much.
I was good friends with his son.
You know how I know they don't care anymore?
I'm like, hey, Butch.
You know how I know they don't care anymore about Franklin County moonshine? It's because there's a
show
fucking TV show about it.
Oh, man. What a classic thing.
Welcome to Bacon and Eggs, where Ty and Ethan talk about literally anything but Monty Python.
We're talking about Monty Python. This is the thing about Monty Python is that they were so hyper-focused on the great comedy that you and I, less experienced comedians, continue to get sidetracked.
Well, yeah, because it's a movie that like...
It's like the Sleep With Me podcast, but a movie.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's just
this
all
movie could
over
easily
the
put
place.
You to sleep.
No, I'd be laughing. Scoots doesn't make me laugh. Scoots makes me sleep. Scoots is like, I was watching Monty Python, and come to think of it, you remember that movie Anaconda? I always thought that was about a python. Anyway.
We should get Drew from Sleep With Me on Bacon and Eggs and just see what happens.
Does anybody fall asleep listening to Bacon and Eggs? I feel like most podcasts I listen to, I could fall asleep listening to. I could not fall asleep listening to our show, partially because it's my voice, and partially because I think that we are louder. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could fall asleep listening to Ear Biscuits. I can't fall asleep listening to Dear Hank and John.
No. I couldn't fall asleep listening to Ear Biscuits either.
I've done it.
Because
not old Ear Biscuits where there's guests, like current Ear Biscuits.
You'd be sleeping, and then, all of a sudden, out of the depths of your brain, Rhett would just come and be like, and what they did is they changed all the Smithfield's chicken and barbecue to be SC and B, and now it looks like a bank. Those dudes get loud.
I recommend podcasts.
I can't fall asleep listening to Hank Green talk about anything. I love Hank Green, but the dude's got a nasally voice.
I love Hank Green. Growing up is realizing that Hank Green is the interesting.
I still like John better. Still John. I listen to Dear John and Hank.
I'm a fan of John Green's books, but I have a feeling I could be wrong about. I think I will not like it as much as other people do, but I think I will love Hank Green's book.
We'll see.
I think I will resonate with it more than I do Turtles All the Way Down.
I have yet to finish Turtles All the Way Down.
I'm surprised by that. It took me about 3 tries, but then it was smooth sailing, and I read it twice in a week.
Well, I don't have the audiobook. I just have the book, and I don't have time to read books.
Books are hard.
Yeah.
You can't read a book while you're driving.
Right. I don't have any time to read the book. Welcome to Bacon and Eggs, where Ty and Ethan say book.
Also, if you wanted to get the audiobook, you can just go to audibletrial.com/eggs. You get a free month of Audible for free and a free audiobook. Free month of Audible for free and a free audiobook. I said free one too many times.
So, fun fact, I have 9 Audible accounts.
Ethan,
9.
You can't do that.
It was all in college when I was very broke.
You're not now.
Correct. All I use is the same one now. But
I have 2. I had one that I canceled because I got one book on it, and it's the one attached to my Alexa, so she only plays a Doctor Who novelization read by David Tennant.
Nice. But yeah,
and then I use the Super Carlin Gaming email for my other Audible account that has my 30 books or whatever on it.
So I don't know how long you've been using Audible, but I think I've been using Audible longer than you, and the subscription thing is relatively recent.
As long as I've had Audible, you get a credit a month.
Right. So I used to get Audible where it was you get a free book when you sign up, and that's it.
Well, that's not as useful.
Right, and then when you create your account, you get a free book, and then you have to buy them.
And you pay $15 a month?
No.
Oh,
you just had to pay full price for the book.
I'm trying to log into my Audible account right now because I'm curious.
I have 5 Audible accounts that have 5 Game of Thrones books on them because they were $45 a piece.
You can buy 3 extra credits now for $35.88. So if you're like, man, I would love to read
The entire Harry Potter
the
series.
the Divergent series, because that's 3 books.
Yeah, you can do it.
But I don't want to. Yeah, and I drive a lot, so I could probably knock one out every week. I don't want to wait 3 months. $36 gets you 3. I don't know if they're good audiobooks. I haven't listened to them. I read the first one, and I quite enjoyed it. I read it in like 3 days.
But anyway, I was searching for a book the other day, and I couldn't remember which Audible account it was under, and I discovered that I have a lot of them. So I will not be getting any more free audiobook credits from Audible. I feel like I've used up my karma on that one.
Yeah, you have. You could use, I would say you can use my Audible account and you can just log in, but I don't want you to. You texted me today. I texted you and said, I want to talk about the Beatles tonight. And you said, are you stealing my ideas?
Oh, okay. So
and I said, no.
You know all the scenes in this movie that are like really weirdly animated, like filler scenes?
Yeah, that's I learned that today, that is a trademark. Not trademark, but like a...
Yeah, it's a Monty Python thing.
Right.
And
Terry Gilliam.
Yeah, and I was trying to figure out like where I had seen stuff like that outside of Monty Python before, and I realized that like the Beatles have this movie called Yellow Submarine.
Mm-hmm. I'm familiar with
it.
I've never seen it.
Based on the song Yellow Submarine. It's about, believe it or not, a submarine that is yellow.
Yes, yes.
And is also a TARDIS. But
what?
It travels through time and space to all of these strange lands. Anyway, the whole movie is pretty much animated like that.
Okay.
And I had a point about this, but I can't remember it.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a very strange...
You're all over the place.
I am. It's a very strange movie. And I started talking about it, and I lost it. I don't know.
You know what else kind of looks like that?
What?
Let me see if I can find the name of it.
Also, Yellow Submarine is a movie about the Beatles. However, the people that voice acted the Beatles are not the Beatles.
What?
Yeah. So,
they like wrote it.
So the songs are by the Beatles. And it's pretty much just like a rock opera, animated rock opera of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the album.
What?
Yeah.
I'm learning so much right now.
And
this is why I don't actively pursue the Beatles.
And, well, okay, so... Yeah, different point. I'll make it in a second. But yeah, it's like a rock opera of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And all the songs are by the Beatles, but like they got different voice actors to play the members of the Beatles.
That's so weird.
Yeah, because
they were like so vocal. They were.
Well, and they made a bunch of movies.
Did they?
Yeah, maybe not a bunch, but there's a few.
I remember one specifically. I'll be so surprised if you know which one it is. I don't know which one it is, so you could say any of them, and I'd be like, yeah, that's probably it. Where there was a scene where they were like driving away from somewhere and using a boot that had paint on the bottom to leave footprints. That's like the only thing I remember about this whole film.
I'm pretty sure that's Yellow Submarine.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I clearly, if that's all I remember, I don't remember the rest. So I no giant yellow submarines of note.
Yeah, and there's like they go to like SpongeBob Glove World where all the enemies are gloves.
Dude, Glove World. That's before the scariest episode of SpongeBob.
What's the... Oh, yeah, the rock bottom one.
Rock bottom. You can't figure out which bathroom he's supposed to use. Ahead of its time.
Yeah, weird episode.
Do you remember Angela Anaconda, the Nickelodeon show?
No, I don't.
Just Google an image of Angela Anaconda, and it is like... I hated this show. It like sketched me out just watching the previews. I would literally... Like, when I was a kid, I could just turn the TV on and watch TV for hours. But if I was watching, like, the ending of an episode of Rocko's Modern Life or SpongeBob or whatever, and then Angela Anaconda was coming on next,
weird.
I would, like, either turn the TV completely off, or I would switch. I would rather watch Courage the Cowardly Dog, which is a fine show as an adult, but was horrifying to me as a child.
So it's weird that you bring that up, because Angela Anaconda reminds me strongly of a scene from this Yellow Submarine movie, and I think it ended up being the music video for it, but it's the part of the movie where they play Eleanor Rigby.
Oh man, I love that song. I know that
and
song.
it's like it's the same kind of animation where it's like pictures of faces on animated people. Mm-hmm. It's just strange, and that's a good song. That's one of my favorite Beatles songs. It's haunting.
I don't have a clue what it's about, and I don't know that I want to know. Because it just brings me... I don't know that I would say joy, because you can definitely tell that there's some ominous things going on. But it's just like a...
What, Eleanor Rigby?
Yeah. I don't know what many of the Beatles songs are about, actually. Come to think of it. Like, Beatles songs that I know, I couldn't tell you that I know what they're about.
Eleanor Rigby's...
Like, Let It Be, I can pretty well nail down.
Eleanor Rigby's about a woman that works in a church. And lives in a church.
She looks at all the lonely people.
And dies in a church. Yeah.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Eleanor Rigby picks up the rice in the church where the wedding has been. Lives in a dream, which apparently rhymes in British, but not in American.
Well, American is the true language. And before you Brits tell us how it's supposed to be, it is believed that accents are very hard to track through history, but it is believed that the American Southern accent was brought here in whenever the Brits colonized.
Yeah.
And then they changed over time.
That's the
and we
theory
stayed
that I've
the
heard,
same.
yeah.
So,
which is weird because now I'm
hear-
just imagining some like hill country rednecks reading Shakespeare.
I mean, can you imagine? It's sometimes there's a certain voice you do where it almost makes more sense. Where like you think you're supposed to be reading it with a modern British accent, but then you put on a different voice, and it's almost like the way it was written sounds more normal.
And you have to understand what they're talking about when they talk about like American Southern accent as opposed to like swamp people. Or,
I
like,
thought it was
Duck
more
Dynasty.
like swamp people. Do you think it's more like
Gone with the Wind?
Do you think it's more like Savannah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's what I've always
Because, like,
understood
this
to
is-
be like a Southern accent as opposed to just like a redneck accent. Because there's no way they were sitting there like, but soft, what light through yonder window breaks, Juliet?
They might have been.
I mean, they might have been, but
You don't like you weren't there. You don't know. I think I always try to put it in perspective of Pirates of the Caribbean. What if they were all like American Southern?
Johnny Depp's accent in
would've
that
been.
movie is not all that far away from like Savannah.
Savannah.
Yeah.
Charles.
What is the capital of Assyria?
I didn't know that.
Dead.
They just kill him off there at the end.
Yeah, thrown into a volcano. Galahad gets his
like-
favorite color wrong.
Blue. No. Yellow. Are you talking African or European swallows?
I don't know that. How do you so much about swallows?
You must know these things when you're king.
Oh man, what a... But yeah, the way we got on this topic, I think, was you said something about the Black Knight scene not holding up over time. And I will admit that was something I liked a lot more when I was a kid. I would agree with that.
And I feel like, and maybe it was just our perspective, but when I was a kid, people would buy Black Knight T-shirts, and not like people my age. I'm sure they did.
Caleb
but I remember
Sigmund
like
had one.
I remember seeing, yeah, but he had the mind of like a 35-year-old.
He also loved this movie.
What's a good movie?
Yeah, but he loved this movie more than your average 14-year-old should have.
Correct. This movie was good. This movie's really good. I'm curious as to where we're gonna end up ranking it.
Well, we're getting close.
I know, and I think.
We're not quite there yet.
What is this? When was the first time you saw this movie, Ethan? Do you remember?
No, I don't know, too young.
So this has always existed for you, kind of like Star Wars. I guess you remember Star Wars, but like for me, there was never a world where I hadn't seen Star Wars.
There was a world where I had not seen Star Wars. There was not a world where I had not seen this movie or been aware of Monty Python.
Okay. Do you remember the first time you watched it with other people, or do you
People,
remember
like,
the first
people
time
other than my
somebody
parents,
else?
or like
Yeah.
somebody showed it to me? I was probably in like middle school.
I remember being at a birthday party in that like late elementary, middle after I moved to Roanoke.
Yeah.
Era where I was at a birthday party and we watched this movie because I remember we watched the DVD special edition. You weren't there, so it was probably still in elementary school.
Yeah, I don't have like a specific memory tied to this movie.
That's so interesting to me.
Like, and maybe it's because I've seen
you ever-
it so much, and like I don't necessarily remember seeing it for the first time.
Have you ever done one of those midnight cult classic like movie watchings, like go and see this or The Room or what's that one at Halloween, Rocky Horror?
I have not, and I
Would
have
you
no,
want
I
to
have
do
no
that?
desire. Let me just tell you straight up before this question comes up. I have no desire to go to an air quote screening of Rocky Horror.
No, me neither. I've never watched
None.
it, but
It's.
I'm not interested in the culture surrounding
I
it.
am so deeply uninterested in what that movie has to offer.
Is there a Halloween movie you do like?
I don't even know if Rocky Horror is a Halloween movie.
Well, it's usually, I feel like, to me, it's a Halloween
Yeah, a
movie.
lot of people treat it like that.
Like,
Honestly, I don't know, because like a lot of the
like-
Halloween movies are not that great.
do you like Nightmare Before Christmas?
No.
Yeah, I watched it this year, and I think revisiting it, I might like it more.
I've only seen it once. So the first I've seen it once,
I've just seen it the once.
and it was like 2 years ago, maybe.
I was not particularly impressed. I didn't think the singing was that good. In fact, that it was like almost bothersome how bad I thought it was.
Right, and it's like oh yeah, then everybody's like, oh man, it's this musical, it's Danny Elfman, and like yeah, Danny Elfman should have been good at that. He was in Oingo Boingo, but
That's over my head.
interesting. Yeah, was it? Is it? You
Yeah,
know why
I
we're
don't know what that
reviewing
is.
this movie right now?
Why?
Because of Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Oingo Boingo is like the first thing they talk about in Ready Player One.
Oingo Boingo. I
Yeah,
do
Dead
know.
Man's Party.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a band. Anyway,
Yes.
fun fact, they provided the brass on A Little Piece of Heaven by Avenged Sevenfold.
Man, that's a track.
Yeah, so Oingo Boingo did that. But I guess we should talk a little bit about why we are reviewing this movie in the middle of our Star Wars.
Yeah. We just gotta, I mean,
Let's do that real
before we
quick.
do A New Hope, we need to review.
Review Monty Python and the Holy Grail, obviously. Everybody's
Right.
favorite Grail legend is Star Wars.
Right. So the reason we're doing this is we wanted to take a little bit of break from Star Wars between each of the saga, or between each of the trilogies or stories or whatever. And it is one of the sort of like cathartic points in Ready Player One, maybe would be the right word.
I would just say it's a huge plot point.
It's not much of a plot point at all, but it's a huge step in Ready Player One.
Right, it's one of the like challenges.
Yeah.
If you haven't read Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, you should go do it. It's a great book, regardless of what people are going to tell you over the next couple weeks.
They're going to tell you it's for edgelords.
Yeah, it's already being Nick Caged by people who aren't liking the movie, and whatever happens with the movie, let me just say this, whatever happens with the movie is not the book's fault.
I don't know. I don't know that it's Spielberg's fault either. I think it's...
No, it's just...
I think...
This book never should have been made into a movie.
No, it should have been I think it could have been a good HBO or Netflix show.
I don't even know if it could have been that. It's like to get the story that was in the book, like, not the technology doesn't exist, but it's just, it wouldn't have worked right.
Right. The reason I say HBO or Netflix show is because when I picture the book as I'm reading it, I can see a different director doing each scene, because it's very much, it's this idea in film and cinema that you almost never see, where you take a whole bunch of different ideas. It's like one of those like spoken word poems where every like stanza of the poem they animate, but it's animated by a different animator. Are you familiar with this concept? It's like that, where it's like you go in and you say, okay, this is the first scene, these are the actors you get to use, I'm not going to tell you anything about the rest of the movie.
Right.
Like, here's the script, film it however you want, and you have to use these actors for these
Right. Exactly. It's and that's how they do a lot of, well, not how they do a lot of TV shows, but a lot of TV shows have different directors for every single episode.
Right. But they have a little bit more of a creative team saying, okay, well, like, the continuity is important.
Correct.
Here,
And this movie is almost needs to be made like one of those like cop shows or hospital shows where you have like there is an overarching plot, but it's not super duper important to the individual episodes.
Right. And you dig into it towards those season finales.
Yeah, you get a season arc. It's like like an older network television show is the thing, because like a lot of the Netflix shows and the HBO shows that are 10, 12 episodes, 8 episodes, the case of Stranger Things, it's just like plot.
Oh, man.
Whereas I've just watched an entire season of Lost recently in like the past week and a half, and it's like they're filler episodes.
You mean like the episode with the tarantula or whatever?
Yeah, with the spider that bites Nikki and Pablo.
Who?
Nikki and Paulo.
I know. I'm just...
Or like the episode where Jack gets his like tie tattoo.
That's a real tattoo.
Yeah, no, part of it. Part of it is.
Huh?
Part of it is a real tattoo. It's
Really?
just the 7.
Oh,
He doesn't have the Asian characters underneath it.
Oh.
Yeah. It's just the big 7.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so they...
Was it Matthew Fox? That's his name?
Yeah, so they were like, we need a filler to episode. Matthew Fox, you have this awful tattoo. And he was like, hey.
But here's the thing, this is why Stranger Things works with this, is that you could be a geek in the 80s and people could watch the show and resonate with it. But as a blockbuster film, if you're going to do the 80s thing, you've got to do blockbuster kind of 80s characters.
Right. This movie
right?
will not.
This
movie will not feature at all in Ready Player One. I don't think.
Wait, what?
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh,
I don't think
I
will
don't
be
think
present in Ready Player One.
No.
Maybe in name. I think they would do well to kind of Easter egg to the whole plot of the original book and like mention the things that are mentioned. But it will not be a plot point. It will not be a challenge. It will not in any way factor into the whole plot of the movie.
Well, because the book talks about like not just geek things from the 80s, but like niche geek things from the 80s, like all video games from the 80s. It's like, yeah, people played video games back then, but not like they do now.
Like Japanese kaiju movies.
Right, exactly. Where it's like, Uturo Man is not like Iron Giant. People know that. Uturo
Right,
Man,
nobody knows Spider Man.
Right. And
also, Spider Man.
like, if you're gonna talk 80s, you have to talk Michael Jackson. You have to talk Madonna. You can't talk Joust.
Yeah. Let me make one point here real quick. Spider-Man, who is supposed to be the Japanese Spider-Man, is way better than American Spider-Man because Spider-Man in Japan gets a giant robot.
Yes.
Like a giant fighting battle mech.
Yes. Well, that was the thing in the
Peter
80s,
Parker would be way cooler if he had a giant battle mech.
I think he has one in Infinity War.
Maybe.
I don't know if it's a giant battle mech, but he's at least the Iron Spider.
Yeah, but like we're going to see a lot more Iron Giant and a lot less Leopardon.
We're not going to see Black Tiger. We're not going to see...
Joust.
I would be surprised if we see Captain Crunch.
Oh, almost certainly not. Or Zork.
Yeah.
I don't know though. Zork made it like into a pretty halfway decent episode of Big Bang Theory.
And Zurg is based on Zork, right? I
think so.
Big Bang Theory. Man, I cannot watch that show.
No, it's awful.
Man, is it like it's hard to watch.
Yeah, it didn't used to be.
I used to care about Penny's
It had its time.
That was the show.
It had its time. And it is past its time.
How does she do it every time? It used to, so here was my impression of Big Bang Theory was that like it's about the nerds, but it's really about Penny, right? And now it's about it's only about the nerds. Mm-hmm. And their uninteresting qualms with life. Like their challenges of, this Trekkie conference didn't go as planned. Like, sorry.
Well, and part of the problem they're having with that is like nerd is cool again.
That is
like,
the
Star
problem,
Trek is
that,
cool.
Like, right, and like being a nerd is cool. Not being an edgelord You're not being Ernest Cline. I'm sure Ernest Cline is like a person to hang out with is the worst. The absolute worst. If you're listening to 80s on 8 and he's like telling you what record company recorded every song, that's not a car ride I want to be a part of. Like,
Right.
I'm not interested in that at all. Because he did an AMA on Reddit, and somebody was like, how much research did you have to do for that movie? And he was like, I mean, honestly, I knew most of it. Most research was just confirming what I already knew.
I mean, I feel that on some level, though. It's like, I know a lot of useless trivia.
Right. Okay.
Not to that
Do you
level,
know what record label recorded Oingo Boingo?
No.
Exactly.
But
Do you know
I also,
what record label recorded Trace Adkins or whatever music you were into when you were young?
There's like 3 country labels, so
A pretty good idea.
I can get close. But yeah, so we are reviewing this because of Ready Player One. I don't think it'll feature in Ready Player One, and Ready Player One is a good book. I recommend getting the audiobook if you're going to listen to it. You go to audibletrial.com/eggs and get a free month and listen to Will Wheaton, also featuring very prominently in The Big Bang Theory, and
in Ready Player One.
And he will read you the book. And he does an incredible job of narrating it.
I think Sheldon could have been Ogden Moreau.
Possibly. Also, Ready Player One, the author, Ernest Cline, also wrote another book called Armada, which is awful. But it's also read to you by Will Wheaton, who therefore makes it bearable.
Yeah. I've listened to like the first 3 chapters.
It's an awesome concept and a really terrible execution.
I'm afraid he's a one-trick pony, the old Ernie Cline.
I'm certain he is, because I've read his other book, which, as aforementioned, is terrible.
I know. I've tried to listen to it as well. It's not good. I'm curious because like J.K. Rowling is also a one-trick pony, right? She can write Harry Potter and that's it.
Yeah, but
so I'm
Harry
curious
Potter's awesome.
And I'm curious if Ready Player 2 is going to be any good at all.
I doubt it.
I just don't know.
I doubt it. Sincerely doubt it. I'm not above listening to it.
I think because the thing that made Ready Player 1 so interesting was not Ogden Moreau, James Halliday. James Halliday was
saying Moreau.
I don't know. Morrow.
It's Morrow.
Morrow?
Ogden Morrow. Morrow. It's not Moreau. He's not French.
I've never read it. I remember when I saw the previews for the movie and I went to IMDb and I saw that all their names were like leaked. Like, you know, they had like letters and numbers and symbols and stuff in them. I was like, what?
The H is like
spelled out like AECH or whatever.
Yeah. The planet they go to, Arcade, is like ARCHAIDE.
Really?
Yeah. I want to read it just to get the actual like spellings and everything and stuff. I think that'd be interesting. Like look at the graphs and the graphics, because I'm sure there's like actual scoreboards in there. But I don't own a copy of the book.
And now I can't find the original cover. I don't want the
Thank
movie
you.
cover.
I was just about to say that. Oh my god, I hate movie covers.
I get why they do it.
Hate them.
Like I have the Love Simon movie cover because then I walked into the store and I was like, Simon versus the Homo sapien agenda. I know that's it because it's got the guy from the movie on the front.
When the book is not called the same thing as the movie, I get it. I understand. And I get that you want to release a new edition that not ties in with the movie, but that like has the movie cover. But don't stop selling the original cover. The original cover was a work of art that somebody put serious time and consideration into, and the movie cover is generally just a bad screen cap.
Correct.
Actually, there's a.
But do you know why they do it, Ethan?
Why do they do what?
You know why they released the movie version?
No.
Because they want to sell more books.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
They don't care about you and I being like, I want the original.
No, but now
they just want to sell more
But now
books.
you can't. But like, you can still find an original cover of The Fault in Our Stars.
Yeah.
You can.
Those are still like the ones in the Barnes and Noble. I was just there.
Well, they weren't for a while.
Were they the ones that had
Shailene Woodley and Ansel Elgort lying upside down from each other?
Man, that's a good movie.
It is. And there's generally too much going on like movie book covers.
I don't like book covers that have human beings on the cover at all. I don't mind if it's drawing, that's fine, but I want like a design and some words about the book.
There's a great TED Talk I'm gonna link in this. It has nothing to do with the movie, but it's entirely about this topic, about like what makes a great book cover.
Hank Green does a good video about that as well.
Yeah, it was just super interesting because it's from this like ex-Penguin illustrator whose whole job was to like come up with like the Jurassic Park book cover, and he like designed the Jurassic Park logo.
Man, you want to talk about a book worth sitting down and reading with your eyes?
Terrifying. Terrifying.
I remember picking that book up in 10th grade English. And like during like a free reading hour or whatever, because I was way too good at English to be in the English class I was in.
Same.
But I didn't want to do summer reading, and nothing was going to change that. And that was like the only other option was to take like advanced English and summer reading. I remember picking that book up in that class, and then going home like and being like, holy crap, I cannot put this down. And then like just thinking about it all day, and then when I went home, I'm pretty sure I read the rest of it until I fell asleep, and then I woke up and kept reading it.
Yeah, no, I like picked it up on like a Friday afternoon and was done with it, I think, by Sunday morning. corny.
Yeah, it's so good.
So's The Lost World. They both are.
Which is crazy because I don't read like grown-up fiction.
No.
Like I still pretty much exclusively read young adult.
Same.
I mean,
It's
like,
just better.
It's for pleasure. I read adult nonfiction.
Yeah.
Not like not like romance novels. Like
Young adult fiction is just better.
why would you make it hard for me to understand? Like,
Now I do read some like fiction, like just straight fiction. Like I've read all the Da Vinci Code books.
I think those are borderline.
They're not.
You think they're for
They're
grown-ups?
for grown-ups. Stay in like a beach house and you'll find the Da Vinci Code books.
Oh yeah.
Along with like
It is-
every Robert
I think
Ludlum
it is,
novel,
like-
every James Patterson novel.
I think the Da Vinci Code is like the greatest beach book of all time, is what they say.
Right, but there's like
So the
there's like
community
6 of
says.
them now.
I thought there was 4.
No, they put one out last year or this year. End of last year.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't read any of them, so I don't know.
I've read all of them. Well, I've listened to the last 2. I don't read books anymore. I go to audibletrial.com/eggs.
Free trial, my favorite book.
So did we miss anything?
Let's bring it back.
We gotta get-
I don't know.
I mean, sure.
Here's the thing about Monty Python is I'm always down to talk about this movie. So if somebody has like questions about my thoughts about it, just join the Facebook group.
There's a link in the doobly-doo.
And I will literally sit there. Or what you can do, and this is something we want to pioneer home Bacon and Eggs, is you can shoot us an email asking for advice or our thoughts on a movie or whatever it is, and we will respond with like not just like a sentence. Like we will respond with the best of our knowledge. And some of that best of our knowledge, if you're looking for advice, will be like, yeah, you should seek a doctor.
Yeah.
But we will respond.
We might even start
We're looking
answering
at
some
doing-
questions on the podcast. Who knows?
And we might make a blog out of it if you're cool with us answering your question.
Anyhow, let's wrap this piece up.
Ethan, what do we do first? There's not a villain.
There's no villain
ranking here.
I guess there's the Black Knight. There's the French.
No, there's no villain here. It goes straight to a movie ranking.
Yeah. There's no series
Here's
either.
what I think. It's not a series. I mean, it could be. We could do like all of Monty Python.
I don't want to do that.
Here's my
Okay, hold on.
thinking,
Let me get the list up. Give me a second.
Okay.
In case you guys are wondering where the big list went, and you didn't read the post in the Facebook group, the big list is now featured on our Patreon page. You don't have to be a patron to access it. It's there for everybody, but it is on our Patreon page because it was getting a little bit unmanageable to have to like mess around with the HTML code every week to get the list to work right. Because turns out our host, a gracious host, Podbean, doesn't like lists very much, like numbered lists. They don't translate very well in the RSS feed. So the whole list of every movie we reviewed is now on Patreon, and that'll be updated weekly, but the movies that are in a series will still have a series ranking will now have a series ranking in the description.
So here's the list, and I don't think I need to start from the bottom.
I'd be offended if you did.
I think only one movie we reviewed is better than this movie.
Do you think it's not as good as Back to the Future?
Correct. But I'm willing to hear your argument otherwise. Your other option is The Last Jedi.
Oh, it's better than Last Jedi.
Yeah. Okay, so is it number 1 or number 2 is where we're at right now.
That's a tough question.
That's a tough, like, head-to-head.
Yeah.
You know?
They're groundbreaking. They're both
like-
groundbreaking movies.
They're both iconic.
Yeah. If you ask the general public to pick, I think they're going to tell you Monty Python's better.
I don't know that I can say that it is.
I think more people have seen Monty Python.
I don't.
I do. I think if you just ask a random person, they're more likely to have seen Monty Python than they are to have seen Back to the Future.
Here's what I think is I think the attention to detail is quality in both of them, is, as high as it can be. Mastering its version of the craft as best as it can. Back to the Future has a story.
It does. You're not wrong. I don't know, man. I just my gut is telling me it's better. I enjoyed it more than Back to the Future.
Really?
Yeah. They both put a big old dumb smile on my face. Don't get me wrong. And those are going to continue to be the kind of movies that make it to the top of this list. I'll tell you that straight up.
I don't know. I mean, if we did like a proper avant-garde film, I'm pretty sure it would knock them both out. But
maybe. Depends.
It depends upon the film. I think if we came in here and did like Lady Bird, I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Right.
Have you watched it?
No, I haven't.
But if we came in here and like did The Prestige, it would win.
Yeah, I think if it came in here, and I'm kind of mad that you said a Christopher Nolan movie because I was going to say The Dark Knight, but
I don't think The Dark Knight is better than Back to
I
the
do.
Future. I don't know that it's better than The Last Jedi. Well, I think our Last Jedi ranking is going to fall. I think The Force Awakens is going to be the one that ends up there.
I mean, I definitely think something will eventually replace where the Last Jedi ranking is falling right now. Like, it's going from 2 to 3, regardless of where we end up putting Monty Python.
Right, but when I am under the impression that when we redo The Last Jedi here in a few weeks, we're going to re-rank it.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to change that much.
I don't know. I know that I don't think it's in my top 3 Star Wars movies.
That's fine. But you're saying this as if we've already ranked the other Star Wars movies.
Correct, and we haven't.
Like, there's room for those Star Wars movies between and maybe above Back to the Future and The Last Jedi. Like, some of them, at least.
I think there's at least one Star Wars movie that comes to mind that could beat Back to the Future.
We'll find out in a couple weeks.
That's kind of... So that's... I just want to tell you my obviously we're gonna have to watch them and see how we feel after watching them. But my brain right now is saying A New Hope can be better, Empire can be better, Force Awakens cannot. But my mind is also saying Force Awakens is
the best one.
And I think it's the context of Last Jedi that makes Force Awakens the best one.
I don't think you needed The Last Jedi to make Force Awakens the best one.
I don't know. We'll see when we get there.
Force Awakens is a lot going for it.
It's so good.
It's got a lot going for it.
It doesn't.
It's better than A New
I haven't seen it probably in over a year, but I can't think of like any scene where I'm like, I don't even know.
It's better than A New Hope. We'll see. Anyway, man, this is a tough one. Normally, these just kind of present themselves. Like, there's an obvious, and this is always, when you're talking about the top of the list, it's tough because there's nothing, like, in between. But, like, you know, the rest of the movies have kind of looked at it and been like, is it better than this? Yeah. Is it better than that? No. Cool. It's right there then.
Right. But this is definitely better than Thor Ragnarok. Definitely better than The Last Jedi. Back to the Future.
Right. It's like, it's right there.
And I think that there's a huge gap between Back to the Future and Last Jedi.
I agree with that. Yeah. We just haven't put anything else in that gap.
Yeah.
We've also done very few movies that stood by themselves.
Neither of those did. In fact, I think this is the only
Back
one.
to the Future could have and was supposed to stand by itself. Back to the Future is not made better by the sequels.
Correct. Although I do like the third one.
I did like the sequels, but it is not made better by the sequel. It's like, we were talking about this yesterday, I think. The Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl has all to do with the rest of them.
It's the best one.
Right, but it might as well be a different series.
Oh, yeah. The continuity, like, messes up after that
exactly. It has nothing to do with the rest of them. It is not made better by the sequels. It is not made worse by the sequels. It is another movie. It's a whole different storyline. It's a completely different thing than Dead Man's Chest and At World's End.
Right, and the other two.
Well, I think those are a complete retcon, too, if I remember correctly.
No, because I think Will still has the heart.
Oh, yeah. You're right. I don't know. Well,
David
whatever.
Jones.
I need to watch them at some point. I haven't seen 4 or 5, but...
This is the only movie in our entire list that is a standalone. And I also, just before, I'm going to let you keep thinking about it, because I'm going over a bunch of things in my head. For saga series, what do you think is the best establishing film? Now, I'm going to give you some options. Of course, we haven't reviewed all of them. Do you like Iron Man? Do you like A New Hope? Do you like Sorcerer's Stone? Do you like... Because I'm not going to include like Back to the Future, because that's a trilogy. That's got a beginning and end. I think there's universes that are still going that can be talked about. You know what I'm saying?
Best establishing film?
I think Iron Man does something no other film's ever done. That I think... We give Iron Man a lot of credit here on this show. A lot of credit people don't give it. And a lot of people will say Ant-Man is better than Iron Man, which is... Ant-Man's great.
Ant-Man wasn't the face that launched 1,000 ships. Like,
right. I think Ant-Man we probably give not enough credit.
The MCU belongs to Iron Man.
The MCU does belong to Iron Man, and for like another couple weeks until he's dead.
Right. But like the next offerings from the MCU are all pretty much down at the bottom of the list. Right. Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, we weren't crazy, but it wasn't. We didn't get another halfway decent movie until Captain America, which was 4 years later.
And we are like the only ones that like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, First Avenger was not well received. I mean, it was, like, more so than the other ones, but it was not well received.
I mean, a lot of people will tell you they didn't make another good movie until Winter Soldier or Guardians.
Avengers is the one people will tell you was the next good movie.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, a lot of people will say that Avengers is the establishing film that matters, but Iron Man is, and they're wrong about that.
So what is the best establishing movie? I mean, Iron Man is better than The Sorcerer's Stone.
For sure. And Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
If you were to include that, but I'm not going
to.
I think it's about as important. Like, I think in 20 years, when I'm showing my kids all my favorite movies, I guess in 20 years, my kids will be pretty old. But I guess in 10 years or whatever, when I'm going over all the great movies from my childhood with my children, I think they will like Iron Man as much as they like A New Hope. I think it's going to be that important.
I haven't seen A New Hope in a while, so I'm excited to watch it again.
I don't know that my kids would like A New Hope. I don't know if it's going to stand.
I'm excited to watch it again. Needless to say.
With the level of like quality cinema we get these days, I don't know if the classics are gonna
hold up.
Although Back to the Future did.
Yeah, I mean, we also haven't this has been the 2010s has been a decade of like superhero movies and reboots and unnecessary sequels to movies that like nobody was asking for.
Well, and it's the birth of the saga.
It's not a bad thing. It's just like a lot of those classics are going to stand because it still was the last time they like made an original movie.
Right. So here's my thoughts on Back to the Future, and I'm going to let you marinate on the other question while we get back to the Future versus Monty Python, whatever the we're talking about. Back to the Future is relatable. Here's the problem: is you can make all these points about why Back to the Future is a better film because, by all accounts, Monty Python and the Holy Grail is a terrible film, right? It breaks the fourth wall. It's got, the acting isn't particularly great, but the writing of the jokes is so good that it pulls it all
Right.
up. It's making fun of the whole film genre.
Correct.
I have no idea where I stand.
And that's why I have trouble putting it lower, because like this is my favorite kind of comedy, is this like satire. Like I love Mel Brooks movies.
Yeah, Back to the Future is better than Spaceballs.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Spaceballs is better than Back to the Future. I'm saying
Well, hold on. Monty Python's better than Spaceballs.
correct. Can I finish a sentence?
Yeah, sorry.
They definitely exist in the same vein though.
Yeah.
It's like they are joking but serious. It's not slapstick.
Right.
It's not like physical comedy where it's just people getting punched and like, fart noises.
It's got some of that.
Right, but it doesn't hinge on that.
Right.
Also, I wouldn't say Spaceballs is Mel Brooks' best movie.
Blazing
Saddles, Robin Hood Men in Tights, then Spaceballs. But, like, I love that. I love Caddyshack. I love Airplane. I love this movie. Those are my favorite kind of comedies. Is the ones that like take themselves just seriously enough that it's funny.
Can I just say on the point of comedy, I don't know that we were ever in a dark era for comedy. I think that there have been a lot of series of comedy that are good. I think this whole genre that you're talking about is excellent and amazing, but I don't appreciate the comedy purist who can't go out and see Game Night or We're the Millers or Horrible Bosses and see modern comedy, like good modern comedy, and like the comedy purist who's talking about all these old satires and classic writing comedies,
Right.
and see the value in that. It drives me crazy when people are like, no, modern comedy is nowhere near what it used to be.
Well, and I don't think that those people are worth. We did go through a dark time in comedy, but it's
There
over.
was still some shining moments.
Right, but post Happy Gilmore, Adam Sandler movies are bad.
Yeah, and a lot of the Will Ferrell, Semi-Pro, Blades of Glory,
Yeah, a lot of them are bad. Like Anchorman,
But
Talladega
Talladega
Nights
Nights
were
is
hilarious. Will Ferrell does some great movies still, but like Daddy's Home, bad. Stop that.
But
Grown Ups,
and, like,
stop
there's
making
not-
Grown Ups movies.
those are awful.
Yeah, Kevin James, go away.
But like Dumb and Dumber, Liar,
I hate
Liar.
Dumb and Dumber. Dumb and Dumber is the one thing I think Jim Carrey ever did wrong.
Oh, you're so.
Oh,
wrong.
I hate him. I hate him.
That was about the peak of like fart joke comedy.
Yeah, it's never been my thing.
Um,
Like Jim Carrey made a lot of incredible movies.
I think my issue with these people is that they're comparing the wrong thing. It's like it's not even a better or worse kind of thing. It's like in the pentagon of your stat sheet, it's just this one's better at the top left point,
Right.
and Dumb and Dumber's better at the bottom right point.
And you don't have to like all of them.
Right.
Okay, so here's my argument for this movie over Back to the Future. This movie did more for comedy than Back to the Future did for sci-fi.
Well, yeah, Back to the Future was after Star Wars.
Right. It's like I love Back to the Future, but what did Back to the Future give us?
I mean, if you want to talk about like the communities and legacies surrounding the film.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like what did it.
Okay, because I was going to say the Back to the Future community is better than the Python guys are to their fans.
Correct. Yeah, correct. But also a lot of Back to the Future actors had a hard time getting a job after that for whatever reason. A lot of those people have done absolutely nothing since then.
So same with these guys.
I mean, that's true.
I mean, they haven't done absolutely nothing,
But
they've done this.
but I think it gave more to the world than Back to the Future did.
I don't know. I feel like I laugh more, obviously, watching this because it's a comedy. But I feel like Back to the Future has the recreated scenes, from different perspectives. It's just like a happier.
That was Back to the Future too.
Thing. Oh, you're right. I don't know, I just feel like Back to the Future made me happier.
Right, and I'm disagreeing with that. We're stuck.
I don't want to put it to
either.
a vote. I think because I don't know that there is a right answer here.
We can't be a tie.
Can't be a tie. You're absolutely right. We can't have a tie for
No.
first place. And I don't think that they're equally. I don't think they're equals.
No, I think that we can't decide. What do we do? Do we coin flip? Do we defer to some ranking? Like
No, because then we're not. It's not
Yeah.
ours. I feel like here's my thing: I feel like it should be an obvious answer. I really do, but it's not. Like to me, it's
Yeah.
not.
it's a tough one.
Like this should be something where it's like, oh, Back to the Future is a good series, but I mean, it's just whatever. It's not Monty Python. Or Monty Python was good, but I mean, those guys were miserable, and it's the jokes are a little bit weird, and it's dry humor, and
Well, and I think before watching Back to the Future for the podcast, and if you had said like which is a better movie between Back to the Future and Monty Python, I'd been like Back to the Future is great, but it's no Monty Python.
Right.
Like, absolutely, and I get that's not a fair comparison for you because you've never seen it, but
well, as far as jokes, it's not. At least it's not as funny. Like,
Right.
It is hilarious. It has that. I think I crack up every time I think about where he's like, "Sorry, the model's not to
it's
scale."
not the scale or painted.
Gets me every time.
I don't know, man. What do we do?
Can we score them? Like, I'm trying to think if we sit down and you and I each take like a rubric out of 50 points and score each movie, right? And then we add those scores together. That gives it the bacon and eggs score.
That sounds exhausting.
Really?
It just
We have to make a
Right,
rubric,
like,
but then
that
I think
just-
it would be pretty simple.
I mean, maybe I don't know.
moving forward.
We can discuss that, but we need an answer.
I'm gonna say it's not better than Back to the Future. I'm gonna hold my ground.
I mean,
on
so
that.
am I.
It's just not like.
I think it did what it was
I'm gonna
supposed
give
to
you,
do.
I'm gonna. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's the point I'm going to give to you. Because when it comes to these classic films, it's hard to say any are better than the others. I think, and I'm surprised I'm saying this, I think Monty Python is more timeless than Back to the Future because Georgie McFly's Peeping Tom thing.
It's absolutely more timeless than Back to the Future.
Right, because Back to the Future has some like commentary in it that's like, you cannot
and
say
Back to
that.
the Future is it's less known in today's society.
I don't know that that's true.
I do. It's like
okay.
I get that you like just discovered Back to the Future within the last 6 months. I get that, and we listened to Nate Pratt talk about it. But like that is a small subset of people.
I think I was surprised when I saw Back to the Future, and I would tell people about it. They would be like, "Oh my gosh, I cannot believe!" Like non-film people would be like, "I cannot believe that's not a
right." But I see people regularly. They'll quote Monty Python on Facebook. They'll be wearing, like you said, a like Angry Rabbit T-shirt or like a Black Knight T-shirt.
I think the DeLorean's about to be a huge part of your life again.
Right, but that's the fault of Ready Player One.
Right.
Which is a weird argument to make because Ready Player One is going to value the DeLorean more than it values Monty Python.
For sure. Because I don't think they got the rights for the X-Wing or the Vonnegut.
Right. Well, and it's just like those aren't... He never used the X-Wing in the book.
Right, but Star Wars is at its peak right now. I'm pretty sure if Spielberg was able to get an X-Wing, he would have... That would have
Spielberg doesn't do Disney, though.
Right.
Like, that's been a thing.
Right. So I'm going to say, because of the timeless factor, these jokes will always be funny. This is always going to be a great film. He's 10 years older, and we're arguing which one's better. I mean, that's that's a big deal. So I'm going to go with that one.
We're going to put it at the top.
We're going to put it at the top.
I'm cool with that. I would have been cool with it at 2 as well, but like it's a sad conversation we had to have. But we had to have it. And I think something's gonna come along and make it more obvious.
As the top?
No, like that makes the division between these two movies more obvious.
I don't know what could do that. I think these are very close.
But in the next 5 years, we're gonna review a lot of movies, and we're gonna have one. We're gonna have one that comes along and is like, is it better than Back to the Future? Yes. Is it better than Monty Python and the Holy Grail? Obviously not.
Definitely not. Of course not.
It's like something's gonna make that, or it'll make it more obvious in the right or the other direction, and we have to switch it. We've done that before.
Retcon.
But yeah. I'm cool with that. All right, let's wrap it up.
Shepherd's pie.
What about shepherd's pie?
That's our breakfast food.
Okay.
Coconut water.
Shepherd's pie and coconut water.
Mostly for the coconut water for the coconuts, and the shepherd's pie because this is so definitively British.
Fair enough. I'm cool with that.
That's a breakfast food in England, right?
No, I don't think so.
What do they eat for breakfast over there?
I think this one, if you're going to go with English, should be a full English breakfast.
What's a full English breakfast?
I don't know exactly what's in it, but it's a thing.
Complete with English breakfast tea?
Yeah. I'm cool with coconut water, though.
Right? It's got to be coconut water. Some Zico.
Full English breakfast. What is included in a full English breakfast? The traditional full English breakfast, and I'm sorry, English people, if I get this wrong, this is just what Google says, includes bacon, traditionally back bacon, fried poached or scrambled eggs, fried or grilled tomatoes, fried mushrooms, fried bread or buttered toast, and sausages, also called bangers, and black pudding.
I think that totally fits this.
Yeah, so we're going to go with a full English breakfast and coconut water.
I love it.
Go 2 arms of a coconut.
Right, because they couldn't afford English breakfast tea.
Correct.
But they could afford artisan coconut water.
Something like that. All right. Thank you guys for listening to us ramble on about Monty Python. I've been Ethan Edgehill. He's been Tyler Carlin. You can reach me on Twitter and Instagram at WowNow, but the O's are zeros. You can reach him on Instagram at AmeriCarlin. That's America RLIN. And you can also get us both at Baconandeggs23 on Twitter. You can join our Facebook group and where we have discussions and find sometimes bad reviews about the movie. The link is below in the description, as well as you can find the link to our full listings and our Patreon at patreon.com/baconandeggs. You can go donate, help us keep the lights on around here. Our artwork is by Vashaun Brandon. And did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
I just kind of rolled with that.
I don't think so. I will say, I don't think we knew exactly what was going to happen when we reviewed this 90-minute perfect comedy, but I actually really enjoyed this discussion.
I did too. We had fun. I had a lot of fun tonight. Glad we did it.
As did I.
Again, guys, thank you for listening, and until next week, arrivederci.
Arthur, King of the Britons.
Plot, 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 plot.